Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News on Voice of the People TV. I am Fina Chiku. Before we begin the news, kindly visit our website at www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. The headlines. CBN retains the interest rate at 27.5%. FG flays a $18 billion yearly loss to multinationals tax evasion. EFCC withdraws charges against Otudeco, a 30 billion naira case. Publicize your NDDC forensic audit, Amechi's wife tells Wike. PSC seeks NDLEA support for police recruits, drug integrity test. Over 90% new electricity chapter are cheaper than fossil fuel, says UN. In business, Dangote exports 1.3 billion liters of PMS as imports continue. In sports, Tinubu congratulates Falcons on booking finals ticket. In the world of entertainment, we committed against divorce, says Omoni Oboli. Now the news in details. Citing the need to sustain the ongoing disinflation while ensuring declining prices, the Central Bank of Nigeria has retained the monetary policy rate at 27.5% with all policy parameters. CBN Governor Laimi Kadoso stated this in Abuja on Tuesday during the Apex Bank's 301 MPC meeting to review recent economic and financial developments and outlook. The committee also retained the asymmetric corridor at plus 500 minus 100 basis points around the NPR, leaving the cash reserve ratio at 50% for deposit money banks and the general liquidity ratio of 30%.
The press. The Monetary Policy Committee, MPC, of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, held its 301st meeting on July 21st and 22nd, 2025, to review recent economic and financial developments and the outlook. All 12 members of the committee were in attendance. Decision of the MPC. The committee decided to maintain the current monetary policy stance and hold all policy parameters constant as follows. 1, retain the monetary policy rate, MPR, at 27.50%. 2, maintain the asymmetric corridor around the MPR at plus 500 to minus 100 basis points. 3, retain the cash reserve ratio, CRR, for deposit money banks at 50% and for merchant banks at 16%. And 4, keep the liquidity ratio unchanged at 30%. The decision was premised on the need to sustain the momentum of disinflation and sufficiently contain price pressures.
Away from that report, in another development, the Minister of State for Finance, Dr. Doris Uzoka Anite, has lamented that Nigeria loses about $18 billion yearly to profit shifting, aggressive tax avoidance, and other sharp practices by some multinational corporations in the country. Dr. Uzoka Anite, who spoke in Abuja at the National Conference on Illicit Financial Flows, said illicit financial flows is a hydra-headed monster that encompasses terrorism financing and corporate tax evasions. According to her, the huge sum of money being transferred out of Nigeria robs the country of resources that could be used to finance the much-needed public services. However, she stated that Nigeria is undergoing strategic fiscal reforms aimed at building a resilient, self-reliant economy driven by revenue rather than by debt or grant. On his part, the executive chairman of Federal Inland Revenue Service, Zach Adedeji, said the scale of illicit flows, especially through aggressive tax avoidance by multinationals which exploit global arrangements, have continued to threaten Nigeria's fiscal stability. Moving on, the Senate has approved President Bola Tinubu's external borrowing plan of over $21 billion for the 2025-2026 fiscal cycle, paving the way for full implementation of the 2025 Appropriation Act. The comprehensive borrowing package includes $21.19 billion in direct foreign loans, 4 billion euros, 15 billion yen, and $65 million grant, and domestic borrowing through government bonds, totaling approximately 757 billion naira. Also included is a provision to raise up to $2 billion through a foreign currency denominated or dominated instrument in the domestic market. The approval followed the presentation of a report by the chairman of the Senate Committee on Local and Foreign Debt, Senator Aliu Wamako. He noted that the borrowing plan was first submitted to National Assembly on May 27, but was delayed due to legislative recess and documentation issues from the Debt Management Office. Chairman of the Senate Committee on Appropriations, Senator Olamilekun Adeola, stated that most of the loan requests had already been captured in the medium-term expenditure framework and the 2025 budget. Senator Sani Musa clarified that the disbursement of the loans would span 6 years, not just 2025. Meanwhile, President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, has dismissed claims that the National Assembly has approved the creation of some new states. Speaking during plenary in response to concerns raised by Senator Abdul Nengi, Akpabio explained that though the Constitution Review Committee has received over 42 proposals for state creation, none has passed through the full legislative process. He noted that the process of creating a state is very rigorous and has not been completed in any instance. Akpabio further warned communities against organizing meetings or mobilization efforts over proposed states that have not been legally established, stating that the Senate has not approved any new state. The Federal High Court in Lagos has struck out the 13-count charge filed against Oba Otudeko, a former chairman of First Bank of Nigeria. Justice Chukwujeku Aneke struck out the charges today after Rotimi Oyedepo counsel to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission announced the withdrawal of the suit. Recall that in January, the anti-graft agency filed the charges against Otudeko and 3 others over an alleged 30 billion naira loan fraud. And still on fraud-related matters, a former First Lady of Rivers State, Judith Amechi, has denied allegations by the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, that she was receiving 4 billion naira monthly from the Niger Delta Development Commission when her husband, Rotimi Amechi, was governor. In a statement by her media aide, Dr. Dike Bekwele, Mrs. Amechi challenged Wike to publicize his version of the NDDC forensic audit report, where either she or her non-governmental organization, the Empowerment Support Initiative, was indicted. Wike had made the allegation during a recent interview with a local television, asking President Bola Tinubu to publish the forensic audit report, and stating that he would resign as minister if his claims were true. However, Mrs. Amechi has described Wike's claim as false, wild and unfounded, and challenged him to make public his version of the forensic audit report, where the former First Lady or her non-governmental ESI, was indicted. She urged Wike to accurate his boast and resign as minister with an unreserved apology to the nation if he does not publish the report. Away from that report, meanwhile, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has defended Governor Monday Okpebholo of Edo State of his controversial demand that the former presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, informs him before any future visit to the state. Wike said during the commissioning of the new Edo Line transport terminal in Benin City that Obi should not politicize governance matters. He explained that when Obi was coming to River State as a presidential candidate, the Labour Party flag bearer notified him as then governor, and he provided logistics because anything could happen and the governor would be held responsible. According to him, Okpebholo did not bar Obi from entering Edo. Rather, he only requested prior notice for security coordination. Citing the need to recruit persons with the right frame of mind, the Police Service Commission has requested the support of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency for drug integrity tests on police recruits across the country. PSC Chairman DIG Hashimu Arugungu, retired, made the request when he led a delegation of the Commission's management on a courtesy visit to the NDLEA in Abuja. In a statement yesterday, the NDLEA spokesman Femi Babafemi cited Arugungu as saying that such checks would ensure that the right persons eventually pass out of the police and the training college across the country to serve the nation. Commending the NDLEA leadership for its support so far to the PSC, Arugungu said the visit and the request were procedural, adding that the Commission follows processes and procedures to ensure the best results. In his response, NDLEA Chairman Brigadier General Bubamawa noted that the drug scourge was affecting every part of the national life, adding that the agency would collaborate with the PSC. You're still watching the Media News and Voice of the People television, and it's time for the Media News analysis. And joining us today, though virtually to help make sense of the news we've listened to thus far, is a former Lagos State House of Assembly candidate for Ikorodu Constituency 1, Sunday Oladipo. Good afternoon, Sunday Oladipo. I would like you to unmute your device. If you can hear me, unmute your microphone, please, for proper communication. All right, we're having a little difficulty trying to get our established communication with him. We'll go on a quick break and when we'll come back, we'll continue with the media news. Welcome back. It's still the Media News and Voice of the People television, and it's time for the Media News analysis. We'll have Sunday Oladipo, who happens to be from a Lagos State House of Assembly candidate for Ikorodu Constituency 1. Good afternoon, Sunday Oladipo. Good to have you join today's Media News.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
All right, welcome to Media News. Now, I would like us to start off from the story that talked about a drug test for police recruit before they will pass out of the college, the police training college and all that. Let's get your opinion on this particular, this particular comment or this particular request by the PSC chairman, DIG Hashimu Arugungu, retired. What do you make of this particular talk or this particular request from him that, police personnel or recruits who are going through the police college and academy should be subjected to drug integrity test?
Okay, yeah, thank you very much, and good morning, Nigerians. And it is not far-fetched or it's not a misplaced priority, but we need to do first thing first. And first thing first, before you give someone a gun, I believe should be sorry. Okay, I believe should be the salary issues first. Just yesterday, 2 days ago, there was a protest by Nigerians to support the welfare of the police, which I believe is overdue. So we are talking about drug tests for them. Many companies are doing that for their staff now. No matter the drug test, if they are still their welfare is not well taken care of, the drug test will just result in the same thing. When you give people gun to carry and they end so worst, their welfare is not interested to the people. Imagine a police service commission that should have been fighting for the police, and you are not talking about drug tests. It's not bad, but first thing first, let the welfare of the policemen be talked about. Now, if the welfare is fine, a lot of people that have never tested drug in their life want to work in the police, because what we see in the police these days is that most people, apologies, most people that are even that are tired of life want to join the police because they know that it's just like a rehabilitation home. So if they're going to carry out drug integrity tests for the set of policemen we have now, I am sure more than 70% will fail, because presently, due to the bad welfare package, most people that are rejected or that feel tired, don't have a place to go, have been on drugs, they want to now join the police because they feel that, well, the police also look, I will have a hedge over others because I carry a gun. So the first thing the PSC should talk about is the welfare of these guys. Let's have a good package for them so that people of great caliber can be interested to now look at, okay, let me join the police. Then after that is done, I'm not against drug integrity test, it's fine, but I believe that is not the priority now.
Now, when you talk about people who are tired of life, can you help explain better to that regard so that Nigerians will understand? What do you mean about people that are tired of life having interest, in joining the police? Well, we know that.
Okay, let me just bring that in a broader perspective. What I'm trying to say is this: for example, if let's paint a scenario of 10 students in a school, 3 of them have distinction. Now you ask them what they want to do. One want to be a medical doctor, another maybe a pilot, and another an engineer. That is the distinction. Now out of the 10, let's say about another 5 or another 4 come out with an upper or a 2-1, for example. Now some of them want to work in bank. Now the last 3 probably have a pass or an F. Presently, what we have is that those last 3 are the ones that take, okay, if I cannot be a doctor, I cannot be a this, then probably let me just go and join the police. That's what I'm trying to paint. Not that rejected per se, but I mean our best and are not going into the police force due to the bad welfare package. I hope that is clear now.
All right. But does that mean, are you of the opinion that the people that we have in the Nigerian police force at this point in time, are not really our best? Are we saying that the people that we have manning that particular, knowing how important the Nigerian police is to every Nigerian, are we saying that we don't have our best in them, being part of the Nigerian police at this point in time? Looking at caliber of men, that we have seen there, looking at even the people that have retired and people who are still there,
Well, if we are going to talk about people that have retired, we can't go back to the history how it was when they joined. But presently, look at the last recruitment that was advertised. It was discovered that in the south, for example, southeast, south, people that applied to be recruited are so few. Were so few that they have to be begging them to please join the police. So what I'm trying to say is that if the police is so attractive, via good welfare package and everything, I'm telling you, you don't need to beg people. In fact, people will be struggling. Now look at the federal job, immigration and other things that is out now. It should be alarming to know how many number of people will have applied for that. But now talking about police, you have to be begging people, especially people from the south, that, oh, please, you need to join police. I had a story, a senior policeman died recently, and the wife was telling me that when the man went to pick up that job about 20 years ago, he never tell anyone. And when they came out of training, and all of them were crying that, why did you go and join police? Since that, so presently, I cannot tell you that all of them that we have there are bad or good, but that they are not our best. Because if they are our best, the IG will not be hammering every day that don't block road. The IG will not be hammering every day That these are the proper way to conduct yourself as a policeman. Look at how many people they are parading every day. So if they are our best, I believe once an IG tell them, okay, no roadblock, no this, you don't need to repeat this every day. But they repeat it, the police will tell us bail is free. If they are our best, bail will be free. But because they are not our best, you can't get out of a station mostly without paying for bail. So that is where I'm driving at.
All right, now let's also let me get your opinion on the clamor of some persons also when they say that the drug test shouldn't be limited just to the police. It should be made open to everyone, including the National Assembly members. What do you have to say about that, given the fact that I also made it to the floor of the House one time, but it was pulled down drastically? Let me get your opinion also on that, please.
Yes, that is not bad. That is perfect. It's perfect because again, we go to the conduct of of people in public service, National Assembly, and the rest. And you will imagine how some bills are being moved that you can't even think about it. So it's not a crime if we want to go that way, that everybody will be subjected to a test before being elected or before even qualifying via INEC to vie for a seat. So it's not a big deal. I'm not against that. I'm not against it. It's okay.
All right, now let's move away from this particular story to another story that made it to this particular bulletin, where we got an information that the Minister of FCT, Dazni Somwike, defended Governor Bebolo, for Edo State over the controversial demand that he made a statement that Peter Obi, who happens to be the former presidential candidate of Labour Party, should let him know, inform him before visiting the state. And the reason for that, according to the Commission of Information of Edo State, stating that the last time Peter Obi visited the state, there was stampede due to the rush and ecstasy that the people of the state actually, were showcasing. Let me get your opinion on this particular one. Do you think that we need to start getting permission, or rather that individuals will get permission before going into a state?
I think they are just trying to, and even Minister Wike are just trying to play sheep politics, because the truth is that there is freedom of movement in Nigeria. You can go anywhere at any time. So, and at this point, telling Peter Obi to get an official permission before he can move is against our constitution. So this is totally wrong. I know where Wike is coming from is because I think the Bayelsa governor also did the same thing to Wike. So, but a wrong step doesn't mean we all should take that step. So I believe that the governor of the state need to apologize for this, and this shouldn't be a point at all. We have freedom of movement. Nobody needs to be notified to visit anywhere in Nigeria, except the security, maybe the DSS or the private security have an issue that they need to tackle. Though I will not totally fault the governor. If truly, because that's what I'm saying, if truly there was stampede due to his visit and it causes, I think he said about 4 people who, 4 lives were lost. If it is true, I'm trying to put that in quotes, because politics in these days, you can't get the right information at a time.
As a Nigerian, how possible do you think it's going to be for, an individual to visit a place and there will be a stampede and it will make it to the national dialysis, given the fact that we saw media presence also in some of the visits that we're talking about now? Do you think it will ever be possible?
Yeah, which is where I'm going. That's what I'm saying, if it is true. Because, like you said, now, I didn't make it to the dailies. We didn't get information about it. So that's why I said, if it is true. Because, there are a lot of abracadabra that you can't even really pin out that is happening. So if it is true, then I will advise Peter Obi to be careful in how he organizes things so that people can really be well organized whenever he visits. But to ask him to take permission, he said, no. We can't.
So you don't think that his security at this point in time, which according to Wike need to be prioritized, should not be the reason for him to first of all inform the sitting governor before going into the state? Recall Wike, when he was talking, said something about the fact that if anything is happening to him, being a member of another political party, a presidential candidate, that the governor will be held responsible.
Yeah. To me, I think we are still coming back to the excuses the governors do give. If there is any security issue, a governor will tell you that they are not in charge of their states. There is a federal that control the police, the DSS, and the rest. But now the governor is taking charge that is the chief security officer should be informed. You know, these things contradict each other. I think Wike, Peter Obi, as a former presidential candidate and a politically exposed person, have a security team. He has DSS with him, police with him, and I believe they can synergize with the police in that state to pass information. Okay, we are coming to your state. Okay, we need backup. We need this. They can do that with him. But because everybody wants to make noise for political gains, that's why we are seeing all this in the newspaper, in dailies, and saying we are warning him not to come. I know that Peter Obi normally will not just come there without his security details. I know. So I believe both the governor, Mr. Wike, and all of them are just testing the mic for 2027.
Can you also say the same thing for when Peter Obi was denied entry in Benue State, even trying his best to get across to the governor of Benue State, Tyson Talia, to visit the people in IDP camps? That was the first time he was denied entrance into a state.
Yeah, I believe it's just the same thing. You know, if you look at Benue is APC.
So you think it's a party challenge at this point in time? You think the ruling APC party, do you think they are jittering over a particular individual moving around?
I believe it. The Peter Obi was diminished. They undermine it. That okay, this guy is not going to do well. So they were surprised at the popularity of Peter Obi in 2023. So now against 2027, now they are trying to do everything to make sure that this guy doesn't have access to the people. To make sure that okay, if he's going to, we're going to tell him don't talk to our people, because they felt probably the more he talks, the more people get convinced. But now, you know, I can't really speak for him much because he's not yet in ADC. Assuming he's in our party, now it will be easy for us to really. Though I know my party has released a statement, and we are expecting him, because I know that we now have a viable opposition that's going to come up and fight for every member of the party, be it Peter Obi, be it Atiku, be it anybody. And we're going to form a very good, strong opposition, and we're going to take over in 2027.
All right, let's move away from that, then bring it back to Lagos. You know, how do you feel about the fact that the Federal High Court in Lagos struck out the 13-count charge filed against Oba Otudeko, who happens to be the former chairman of First Bank? You know, this particular thing has to do with, I think, 13 billion naira fraud and all that. So please, 30 billion, exactly 30 billion naira loan fraud. Help us walk around this place as first as a Lagosian, as a politician, and also as a Nigerian.
Well, there is this debacle about laws in Nigeria. You know, the less you see, or the less you think you know, but the more you think you know, the less you see. So, and I've not really studied that judgment. So I will not want to, because I don't really want to go when a judge has pronounced a final statement. I believe it's better to have a true copy to really know what really transacts in that, because at the point you'll be looking at an issue from a layman's angle, that this is a thief, and they get to court and they cannot prove he's a thief, and the judge is not a Father Christmas like they do say, and can say okay, you can go. So I think I will prefer if I can take this up after I've studied that judgment, so that I can really speak from a professional angle other than a layman angle. I saw the judgment, I was surprised too. You know, I was surprised too. But you know, at the point, Nigerians, Lagosians will tell you that there are judgments varies in terms of being a poor man and a rich man. So I'll leave it at that.
All right, thank you so much for your submission on that. Now let's also look at interesting one which Nigerians have been talking about today, and that is about the approval of the huge amount of money which, when it's being put together, we're looking at 775 billion naira at this point in time. A new loan which the National Assembly have given their own consent to say yes, the president should go ahead to borrow this particular money. From what we learned today, according to one of the national dailies, we're told that this particular money is already part of the 2025-2026 fiscal year running too, and they needed this money. People actually defended it. To have the Committee on Local and Foreign Debt Management, Senator Ali Wamako, defending this particular money, this particular loan, which was presented before the National Assembly yesterday, and they also, appended their signature to it and accepted. What do you have to say about that, please?
Well, one, the federal government removed subsidy. One, so that we can have a lot of money back. And I think some trillions naira. I don't have the exact figure. Was distributed by the FAC a few days ago. And it is interesting that governors now are telling us that they are making more money than what they had made before, though we are seeing less service, less performance. So now going on foreign loan of $21 billion again now. The Senate is just, I think Nigerians, that is one of the mistakes we made in 2023. Majority of Nigerians focus on the executives. And I pray that this will not be another thing in 2027. Whereas there is nothing a good executive can do with a bad legislation. It's not possible. You need legislation to be sound, good, trusted, without blemish. The same thing with your judiciary. Because if you have your judiciary also perfect, top notch, then you know that you go to law and get justice, to the court and get justice. Now, if your legislation are very fine and they're top notch, they are not going to be rubber stamp to approve everything. Because I don't see why there is nothing the president has thrown at the legislation that has not been approved. And this is not helpful to us because we believe that there should have been debate, there should have been public debate. Because at a point, we are happy that the IMF told us we are not owing, and now we are running into more debt. If you go online now and even ask the AI, the debt we have been able to accrue in in 2 years of this administration has superseded a lot of debt of many presidents past. So I think the legislation need to take it down, but Nigerians need to do more. Because we are only talking about executive, president, governor, whereas the real democracy lies with legislation. So I don't think we need to focus on that coming again. So I believe my party will not support this. We don't support this as Nigerian. So, but there's nothing we can do now. It has been approved, and it has been approved. It is also funny that this is July. We learned that last year budget is being run. We don't know when this year budget will start. So this is just where we find ourselves by the masses. I think we need to change our focus now. Even if we have a bad president and the legislations are fine, I think we make way. We make well as a nation.
Now, having this most part of this loan now, being captured in the midterm expenditure framework and the budget of 2025, the presidency also pointed out that the need for this loan is to make sure that the agriculture sector, the housing deficit that we're having in Nigeria, also issue of insecurity, and a whole lot more is being helped, it's being looked into, and it's being done. Now, don't you think that is actually moving in the right direction? Pointing out where these monies at this point in time will be fixed for the betterment of Nigeria.
Well, if truly, like I'm saying, if truly we feel the impact in agric, which if we feel the impact in agric, is going to support our food, the cost of living, the food, the cost of everything. If truly we have impact, that is not a big issue. If truly, in terms of security, the killings in Benue can stop, the Boko Haram can be extinct, can be taken out totally, all the terrorists, all the banditry can end, then I will say kudos, I will support it. If it's about houses, and now a common man, not party, can then get a federal housing and get a mortgage to buy those houses without knowing anybody in Nigeria, then I personally will support it. But until that is done, it is difficult for anybody. Loan is not a major issue. But what do we achieve with the loan? How does it impact the economy?
Are you in any way saying that other loans that Nigerian governments have borrowed have not been seen in the life of average Nigerians? I'm talking about the fruit of it. Is that what you're saying at this point in time?
Yes, I said that.
So now what other means you think Nigeria government should embrace, especially locally, to make sure that we have more than enough money to stop borrowing? Since you're saying that the ones that we borrow is not being utilized.
Well, let me tell you the truth. We are being double taxed. A lot of money. Okay, I think the new tax regime will come into effect. Is it October or when? Or is it very soon?
January 2026.
Okay, January 2026. Okay, that's fine. I believe that the government should have waited to see how that runs. Because according to the design that has, I don't think anybody will be able to escape not paying. except the low income earner that have been exempted. So, and I believe that that will also be classifying the high and mighty to pay exact tax. So that is a way I believe one the government can pursue instead of all this loan. Then you have removed subsidy on almost everything we do. Subsidy has been removed on the PMS, and it's been going up and down. So then on Bande electricity subsidy has been removed. So all those things also are avenue for government to show up and make money. So if you are going you make money there and you still borrowing loan and we are not seeing the effect, it's not helpful at all.
All right, now let me get your opinion, maybe less than 30 seconds on this before I will let you go. The new MPR rate is still at 27.5%, according to what the governor of Central Bank, told us during the 301 MPC meeting. Now, what are the economic indicators that you think that most of this particular decision will influence at this particular time, this remaining or retaining the MPR at 27.5?
Well, I shared a tweet on this yesterday. I will advise Nigerians to go and join cooperative. I think that because I belong to many cooperatives and I still do between 5 and 10%. If the CBN is doing 27%, by the time you get to the bank may do another 1 or 2, 3% on it. Now, it's just funny. Though there is this thing with Nigerian banks, if you are poor, you can't even get loan from them. And I think, just like the case of the October of Zuleco, sorry for taking you back, I believe that, they know that these interests are difficult to pay. So they borrow people who need large sum of money and are popular and are known. So by the time they borrow them, the interest is so much and they know how to do it. It ends up in case, you get a good lawyer, you drag it and you are off the hook. So I think CBN interest rate is for the rich and for the mighty. So I will advise Nigerians, it's better you find a good cooperative and join so that you can just save yourself of this 27.5%. Wow, this is huge. I know it's retained, but you can't get anything less than 30-35 from bank now.
All right, thank you so much. I wanted to know if you're saying that this particular retaining of the MPR is not going to have any good benefits for the small or medium scale businesses in Nigeria. But you've already told us that Nigeria should join cooperative. On a lighter note, do you have any that you're running at this point in time for people actually to be part of, for them not to pay high rate when they try to borrow loans and all that? Thank you so much, Sunday Oladapo. We've been talking to Sunday Oladapo, who happens to be former Lagos House of Assembly candidate for Ikorodu Constituency 1. Thank you. It's a pleasure having you join today's Media News.
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll be watching you're watching the Media News on Voice of the People Television. We'll go on a quick break and when we'll come back, the rest of the news continue. Welcome back. It's still the Media News and Voice of the People Television. The National Coordinator of the Presidential Livestock Reform, Professor Tahiru Jega, has warned of imminent acute protein deficit and heightened food insecurity as violent farmers' headache crisis and poor investment threaten Nigeria's 30 trillion naira livestock sector. Speaking at the 2025 Blueprint Newspaper Annual Impact Series Award in Abuja, the presidential advisor painted a bleak future for Nigeria's food, security and health sector, urging urgent closure of investment gaps and efficient policy coordination as remedy. Jiga noted that though the Nigerian livestock industry is valued at approximately 30 trillion naira, the sector has suffered chronic underinvestment in public sector budgetary allocations and private capital infusion for too long. He explained that the livestock sector occupies a unique strategic position within Nigeria's broader agricultural economy and contributes an estimated 7 to 9% of agricultural gross domestic product, as well as provides direct and indirect livelihoods to over 20 million Nigerians. He insisted that Nigeria must address deep-seated structural inefficiencies and invest massively and appropriately to maximally tap the sector's potential, said overcome the threats. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has disclosed that in the past 10 years, over 90% of new renewable energy sources that lead to the production of electricity is far less than the cheapest new fossil fuel alternative worldwide. In an address titled A Moment of Opportunity, Supercharging the Clean Energy Age, Guterres said that energy has shaped humanity's path from mastering fire to harnessing steam and splitting the atom, adding that presently the world is at dawn of a new era. He noted that the sun is rising on a clean energy, with nearly all new power capacity coming from renewables, thereby making investment in clean energy soar to $2 trillion from $800 billion, which is more than fossil fuels. According to him, solar and wind are now the cheapest sources of power on Earth, and clean energy sectors are creating jobs, boosting growth and powering progress, in spite of fossil fuels still receiving far greater subsidies. He warned that countries still clinging to fossil fuels are not protecting their economies, but sabotaging them. The Edo State Cybersecurity Summit held at the John Oyebo Hub in Benin City brought together key stakeholders to address the growing challenges of online safety. Organized by the State Ministry of Science and Technology, the event emphasized the need for collective action and education to combat cyber threats and protect the digital space. VOP TV correspondent Rhoda Johnny has more details.
Promoting online safety and collective responsibility. Organized by the State Ministry of Science and Technology, the event brought together officials, educators, and experts to address cyber threats and increase digital awareness. Key discussions highlighted issues such as cyberbullying, identity theft, and the importance of integrating cybersecurity education into schools. A panel session explored digital literacy and youth engagement.
The only free man is that man who has the ability to choose his own slavery. Any man that says, I want to be entirely free, I'm not a slave, if you check properly, in a short while they will self-destruct. So the world is a guided place.
You locked your phone, right?
Yes.
Your phone has, answer me now, your phone has password.
Yes.
What if I can tell you that you're the most exposed person on earth? Would you believe me? How? Yeah, some of the apps you have has the ability to read your login details into your bank apps. Some of the apps you have, right, your phone right now can be taking pictures of you. Hackers can easily do. That's very easy to do. Okay, I wish we could have some practical sessions so you see that. Maybe you throw your phone away. You now understand why some people like to carry torchlights.
While the keynote speaker emphasized structured initiatives and the media's role in raising awareness.
The internet has transformed how we learn, work, heal, and connect, breaking barriers of distance and inequality.
The interviews all sent a clear message. To effectively combat cyber threats, we need stronger collaboration between government, educators, the private sector, and the community.
The purpose of this event is to create cybersecurity awareness. As we all know that we're beginning to move online, especially when it comes to our online presence is beginning to become increasing, and also our digital asset and participation online is becoming increasing.
And for everything that is so lucrative, so enticing, so beautiful, you have the bad guys. As you're building, you also have some destructive people.
Safety on cybersecurity. Why are we doing this at this point? Because every one of us are now become vulnerable. We become vulnerable because many young people work remotely.
Cybercrime is on the high. Most of us today, our lives are online. Social media, we do business, everything we do is online right now. So we need to learn online safety and security.
Cybersecurity, it's a collective responsibility. It's not limited to just a department alone. And cyber hygiene is key.
Raising awareness through continuous education and collective effort is essential to secure our online space. Affairs. The summit concluded the calls for ongoing partnership and shared commitment to protecting Nigeria's digital future. In Benin, Rhoda Johnny, VOP TV News.
Thank you so much, Rhoda Johnny, for that wonderful coverage. Now, moving on to the business segment of the Media News Bulletin. President of the Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, says the Dangote Petroleum Refinery has sold approximately 1.35 billion liters of petrol to other countries since it began exporting premium motor spirit in the past 50 days. Dangote, who spoke at the Global Commodity Insight Conference on West African refining fuel markets, stated that Nigeria has actually become a net exporter of refined products. However, the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authorities said that in spite of Dangote Refinery's export drive, Nigeria and other West African countries still import nearly 69% of their gasoline supply from overseas markets. NMDPRA Chief Executive Farouk Ahmed said that statistically, data for 2025 indicates that an average of 2.05 million metric tons of gasoline is traded monthly in the region, with 69% being imported. According to reports, a total of 231.881 million liters of PMS was imported into Nigeria in the last 8 days, with a total volume of PMS imports within the period at 172,917 metric tons. In sports, President Bola Tinubu has commended the Super Falcons for booking a place in the final of the Women's African Cup of Nations in Morocco by beating the Bafana Bafana of South Africa in Tuesday's semi-final. The victory also presented the team with a chance to win a record-extended 10th WAFCON title. In a congratulatory statement shortly after the match, President Tinubu said the victory was well-deserved and nothing short of superlative. According to him, their semi-finals victory over South Africa was a magnificent display of great talent and the indomitable Nigerian spirit, stating that the team made the nation proud. He urged them not to relent until they bring the 10th title home. The Super Falcons booked their place in the final with a dramatic 2-1 win over South Africa, courtesy of late goal from defender Michel Alozie. Alozie launched a long ball into the South African box, which evaded everyone, including the goalkeeper, and nestled into the net. The Super Falcon will face Morocco in the final after the host nation eliminated Ghana in penalties after a 1-1 draw. In entertainment, veteran actress and filmmaker Omoni Oboli has revealed the mystery behind her lasting and thriving marriage to Nnamdi Oboli since year 2000, stating that they had a pre-wedding commitment that excluded divorce. She told media personality Chude Jidonwo that their decision to eliminate divorce was a major factor that has sustained their union over the decades. According to her, from day one, even before getting married, they decided that divorce was not an option. More so, she stressed the power of forgiveness, stating that most issues in marriage could be resolved if the partners are willing to forgive. Putting it simple, Omoni explained that there is almost nothing someone can do that cannot be forgiven if one wants to, because no one is perfect. The buttress that claim, as she disclosed that the first year of their marriage was very turbulent due to mainly issues very short courtship, her husband having proposed just 2 weeks after they met, and their wedding taking place 4 months later. And that is it on the media news, but before we go, a quick look at the headlines. CBN retains interest rate at 27.5%. FG Flays $18 billion yearly loss to multinationals tax evasions. EFCC withdraws charges against Otudeco in $30 billion case. Publicize your NDDC forensic audit, Amechi's wife tells Mike. PSC seeks NDLEA support for police recruits, drug integrity test. Over 90% new electricity cheaper than fossil fuel, says UN. In business, Dangote exports 1.3 billion litres of PMS as imports continue. In sports, we told you that Tinubu congratulates Falcons on booking finals ticket in the WAFCON 2024. In entertainment, we committed against divorce, says Omoniobole as she explains the reason for the long marriage. Do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. On YouTube, we are Voice of the People TV, and on all the social media platforms, we are VOP TV Live. Up next on our schedule is the Spotlight Show with Onyim Damola Olokotun. I am Fina Okechukwu. Good afternoon.